Good afternoon. Welcome back to my garden. It's March 21st. I posted the weekly wrap-up earlier today. Then I was looking at the plants that were sitting on the windowsill, and the 4 tomatoes that Bear gave me, they're getting a little leggy. He assures me that they're going to be just fine. We're going to have to plant them a little deep. I think we'll be okay. The tomatoes we're going to plant today are determinate. That means they're only going to get so big. We'll plant the indeterminate ones a little later as it warms up. They're not quite as cold hardy. And I've got a trellis set up over here, and we'll show you how we do that in a later video. This mulch has been pretty deep right here. I'm going to take it down a ways before we get to digging. Now, when I said these were a bit leggy, I wasn't joking. But the thing about tomatoes is the entire stem will root. So we're going to plant it a little deep, put a cage around it. To do that though, you need to pinch off the lower leaves. It'll be just fine. But you just take your finger and just pinch them off. Pop it out of the pot. Drop it down in your deep hole. Pinch one more off. Pinch two more. Add your dirt back in around it. A little bit of mulch as you go. Go. First one in. Normally you wouldn't have to dig this deep. But I'll let these tomatoes get quite leggy. I'm gonna have to put them in quite a ways. And I mean quite leggy. Same thing, just pinch off leaves up a little bit. Take them out of the pot. Put just a little bit of mulch down in there. Set him down in. Backfill with dirt. Now you can see how orange this clay is. It's one of the reasons I started this deep mulch no-till. Because in the summer, it would get very hard and the plants would have to work very hard to get roots down through them. Since we started with the mulch, the top is beautiful and soft. The soil is fantastic. And with all the rain we've had, it's a little muddier than it normally is when we plant. It did freeze last night, and it's just now starting to warm up. Now you gotta be careful when you're putting a ring around your plants not to hurt them. He says that right after he pinched off a bunch. That won't hurt them. But you want to be gentle at this point. Get your ring down snug. I'm just going to train this guy around this one for right now until he stands up a little bit. Rick, the one thing I did forget to mention about making sure you don't have any wild hogs. My neighbor's out practicing this morning. Wes, you might know him. Mr. Browning off to the one side. I got Mr. Smith up on the hill. Right next to him, Mr. Wesson. Man out back, he's 22 years old. So I really don't have to worry about wild hogs. This is still part of the extension part of the garden. So this soil hasn't had any time to really be worked by all the microbes in the mulch. Weatherman says it's supposed to rain off and on the rest of the week, so this is a good time to get this in. Thing about tomatoes, you don't want the leaves to get too wet. It's one of the reasons I'm pinching them off so high off the ground. You get water splashed up on them, they tend to get mildew. Surely you knew I wasn't done yet. We'll mulch heavier as they get bigger. They're coming out of the house and being planted at this temperature this early. These guys may look a little shocky for a few days, but they ought to be just fine. Well, we'll see what we get. Well, let's get a half a row of peas in while we're doing this. This is the newest part of the garden. This mulch hasn't been down more than just a couple months. So when you open it up, you still might have little grass trying to poke its head up. So you might have to give it just a little help before you go ahead and plant. That's all there is to it. Now obviously you need to be down to the dirt to put the seeds in. And as the plants start growing, we'll go ahead and mulch back around it. But to begin with, I like to plant as close to underneath the trellis as possible so they have a chance to get a hold and start climbing. One last little piece of grass there. At least you don't have to plant very deep. As long as they have soil contact, we'll put a little bit over the top. Of course, a rock ain't gonna help. Maybe a couple more for good measure. I think I need another one right in here. I know I'm doing it wrong. Just take a little of your dirt, push over the top of it. Any little green that you see, toss out. Just need a little contact with the soil. A little bit of mulch over the top. And as they start growing, we'll mulch a little heavier. And that's all it takes. We'll see what we get. Please hit the subscribe button and tell your friends. If you hit the bell, it will notify you of future videos. In this uncertain time, why don't you stay home? Come out and garden with me. It's safer that way. God bless you. Come on, let's plant. Let's go plant garden.